Hi everyone, welcome. We are now at week 3, towards the end of the week, so getting pretty close to the end of the program. I just want to follow up from where we were last week and just ask you how you've gone with introducing that new food into your diet. Have you done that? Have you not done that? Either way, there's no right or wrong answer. It's always good to reflect as to how your reaction was towards adding some new foods in there. You know, whether you wanted to do it or whether you just didn't want to do it, whether you wanted to do it but just didn't get round to it, or whether you just actually didn't want to do it. Whatever the reasons, there's a behavior there, all right? So I want you to have a look at that, because it's the same thing. Like I'm talking about adding a new food, but you can also relate that behavior to other things that you've made decisions on, all right? We're all here to improve our health. So we've come on to this reset program for improvements, all right? So there would have to be a little bit of give and take, I suppose, to navigate yourself to make those changes, all right? So how did you go with that? And just a little bit of a self-assessment as to reasons as to perhaps why you have decided not to do something, or even just reasons as to why you haven't been consistent enough. What things influenced you as to not to do that? All right, so there is nothing, absolutely nothing wrong if you've struggled with that, and that's totally okay. But it's what's good now is to actually look at it and review it and have a think about that. All right, so that's what's important, that part of it. Now I just want to go into, again, talking about our gut health. So I did say that, introducing new foods helps with your microbiome to create a better diversity into your gut. The other things that do help are your prebiotics and your probiotics, which I'm sure all of you have heard of. Some people supplement them in. You can get them in through your food. So your probiotics will come in your fermented forms of food. All right, you think sauerkraut, kimchi, or even fermented vegetables in jars, that type of thing. Also your yogurts, your kefir, miso. I'm really bad with names, but there's a lot of fermented foods there that you can introduce into your diet which already have that good bacteria that goes into your gut. Your prebiotics is what feeds that good bacteria, all right? So they're things like all the foods in all your fibrous foods, so your fruit, your vegetables, and your wholemeal grains, all right? So they're your fibrous foods. They're going to feed your good bacteria, all right? So think of it in that way. Sorry if I'm talking very clear, but I actually have to get my head around it myself. So I do it for myself, so I know that I'm, really clear with my words. Coming from an Italian background, I find that, not that I'm blaming my mum and dad, but I did have a slower start with the English language, and I reckon actually affected some things in some of the way we pronounce stuff, funny enough. Anyway, back to what we were talking about. So back to our gut health. So I have introduced bone broth into my diet more recently, more frequently. Okay, so I did always have it. I grew up with it. My mum made bone broth all the time. She used it as a base for a lot of other dishes, as well as she used to make, we call it pastina, which is a beautiful chicken broth, and would add a little bit of really fine pasta in it. My mum sometimes would even crack an egg in there and mix it in, and then they would sometimes even add some spinach in there, and it was so delicious. I never liked it with the spinach, I just liked it with the pastina, and it was beautiful, and I grew up on having that. But since leaving, moving out of home and starting my own journey, I actually stopped I didn't make any bone broth at all, actually, for a lot of years. I just have it when I happened to be at my mum's and she had it, but otherwise I never actually made it. And it's only more recently, say the last few years now, say about 3 years, that I've started to put bone broth into my diet more regularly. I have my ups and downs with it because it's a bit time consuming and you've got to look after it. So, I had to get my head around the routine of it, okay? Which is what I'm always talking about. So just getting into the habit of doing it. So, and I've done that now. So the benefits of bone broth. Okay, so you're extracting a lot of minerals and vitamins, minerals and electrolytes from the bones. Now the quality of your bones, the vegetables that you put in there, everything that you put into that broth is going to determine the quality of your broth or the nutrient value of your broth. We're never going to know 100% because everyone's is always going to be different in their quantities, and the quality of the bones will be different. So I decided to do a little bit of research to see if I can find out some more information about it. It's a very, very trending thing, bone broth, and I thought there's got to be something out there. So, and yes, they are doing research on it. There isn't a great deal on it, but there has been some possible links to bone broth and osteoarthritis and bone health in a positive way. So that's good, and they're going to look into that further. Again, everything always needs more research, so it's not definite. The other things that they talked about was your gut lining. Again, very good for the healing of your gut as well. So there are other things that they're also looking into. But what I can tell you, which is from experience, and this is where, you know, I feel very, very confident because I have experienced it. A couple of years ago, which is what got me into the bone broth to begin with, when I used to go to my hairdresser, she used to always whinge and complain to me about my hair breaking. My hair was very brittle and it used to break all the time, and I was getting thinner in my, you know, the volume of my hair. And she used to always frown and say, Maria, what are you doing? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I was in my, I guess, late 40s then, and I don't know, part of aging. And my skin was also very dry at the time. My nails were very brittle, and I took it down as, well, that's life, because I was eating pretty well even at that time. So I just don't know why that was happening. I'm going through changes, I started thinking. So anyway, I started to look into that area to see what I can do. And then I started thinking about bone broth and thought, you know, I knew some friends that were doing it. And then I started to do a little bit more research on it. And I thought, I'm going to start introducing it more into my life now. So I did. I started making bone broth, and I did all different types. I cooked it for 8 hours. I done a 20-hour one. And now I've come down to a bit of a system that works for me, that's manageable, that works in my life, and that I have found I can do more consistently. Now, just go back a step before I go into what I do, but the benefits I've found, so once I started making the bone broth, I was making it every fortnight. So in that fortnight, I was drinking it the first, because then I'd freeze some if I had some left over. I was having about 4 servings, all right? And I was just drinking it straight in the end, and that's how I was having it. But I was also giving it to my kids and doing what my mum used to do with me, put a bit of pasta in it. And I noticed, and it took a good month, easily a month, maybe even a bit more, where I started to notice my hair feeling a bit thicker and my nails starting to feel better. So it took a little bit of time, I reckon actually even longer. And eventually it got to a stage after a few months where my hairdresser noticed the improvement. She wasn't complaining about my brittle hair anymore and that it was breaking all the time. She found it quite easy to work with. And she said to me, your hair has gotten so much thicker. And I knew it. I knew as well that my hair had gotten better. And my nails then was the next thing I noticed get stronger. And then the one thing I did notice with my skin, I was hoping that my wrinkles would all go away, but they didn't. But what I did notice was hydration. So I had really dry skin, and I reckon that's where it was that time of my life that I felt like all my fine lines started appearing during that time. But my skin's really hydrated now. And I put it to not just this, I put it to a few other things that I do as well. But I definitely noticed the difference with that. That was the last thing I actually noticed. The hair was the first, and then it was my nails, and then my skin was hydrated. And I knew that was the biggest change I made in my diet, and that was the most consistent change that I made at that time. So I knew it was because of that. So for me, that was done deal. I knew that it was benefiting me. I felt nourished. I felt good when I had it. Never had any kind of side effects or bloatiness. I don't get any of that at all. So I knew it was right for me. So this is where you got to test it for you. So this is what I do with my bone broth. I want to show you what I put in it. I'm not going to make it now in front of you. So I use a big pot like that one over there. I put in myself, I make like a big serve. So I put in actually four chicken carcasses. So I do a chicken bone broth. So there are other ones as well. If you're vegetarian and you don't want to use meat, you can do a vegetable bone broth. There are lots of benefits with that also. So I actually put I use organic bones. I go to Vic Market and get them. And I put in you're gonna hate this, but chicken feet in there. A lot of collagen boosting properties come out of that. So I do put about 6 of those in there. And then I put in, I'm just gonna lift this up and show you. I put in celery, maybe about that much, maybe a bit more, about 4 sticks of carrots, maybe 5. I actually throw in a little bit of parsley myself, and I've been throwing in, I just done these Australian bush herbs. This is the brand that I get it from. I'll actually put it in the comments. Mate, that was beautiful. It actually just added, I don't know, it just added a bit of colour as well because of the colour of it. They're all just natural bush herbs. They're a great company. And the flavour was really beautiful. And so I just do that. And I let it all simmer. I let it boil. And then I just let it simmer for around the 4 hours, all right? Because chicken bones are not that thick. So you don't have to do it as long as beef bones. And then the way I eat it, now you can use it as a base for a casserole dish, anything you want, plain little bit of pasta in there. You can throw an egg in it with the pasta. That's a great meal for kids especially. And what I do is I cut some greens that I've got. So today I've used the Chinese broccoli. That's my new ingredient. And I've actually thrown a little bit of the other broccoli as well, our normal broccoli. And I've just cut them up fine, really fine. And then I just want to show you, I'll heat the broth up. So I've just put a serving here and I just I pour it in there. All right, and I just let it wilt. And it wilts. I'll just give it a few minutes and just let it wilt. Now, what you decide to put in there is entirely up to you. You do what you like. What works really well is bok choy, all right? I put bok choy in it and that's it, and it was beautiful. That's all I needed. Sometimes I even just drink the broth as it is because of the benefits. And it tastes good. Like it does taste, for me, it tastes, I love it anyway. So that's what I do. I like to have it on its own, but if you want to add something in there. And then the other thing you can do when you do a broth with, I just want to show you, it's mainly juice. Like it looks a bit greeny there, but it's just beautiful. Like, you know, but you can add some rice in there. So like some brown rice, even just like not even a cupful, like 2 tablespoons would be enough to add in there. You can add some quinoa in there. And this is where you can start adding some extra foods in there to make it more of a meal, all right? Another thing that I do, if you're making a vegetable soup, instead of putting the water, I'll put the broth as well. And then I've got a really, it's a lot more tastier, nutritious, you know, vegetable soup as well. All right, and you don't need to be eating a lot of it. You just need a little bit, you know, just a bowl full, or if you're going to drink it as on its own, just a cup. And look, the benefits of the broth are the amino acids that have come out of it. They're essential amino acids in our diet that we need, and they come from there. And so we get a lot of protein. They say there's about 10 grams of protein per serve of bone broth. You get a lot of electrolytes in there, so your potassium, your zinc, magnesium. There's other minerals that come out of your broth as well. Again, it all depends on other vegetables and the bones that you've used, all right? Yeah, so that's my take on the broth. So it's something to think about. If you've been thinking about it, maybe give it a go. And also the other quick thing I want to, this is probably my longest video, I'm so sorry, but the other thing I just quickly want to share with you was my smoothie that I made this morning. I did a different one. I tried something new, and I'm going to show you what I put in it. I've put all the ingredients on a plate so I don't forget, all right? So it's just half an apple. I've put in hemp seeds, a tablespoon of hemp seeds. I put some cinnamon. I put 2 pecans, so 2 tablespoons of pecans. And of course, I keep forgetting to mention it, but the Arbonne vanilla protein powder is what I used in there. And I put in almond milk. I put in about 200 mils of almond milk, and then I added about another 150 mils of water because I like it. I don't like it as thick. And I also, yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it. That was all of it. Now I'm going to show you, because I put it in the fridge, and I just want to quickly show you. I'm just going to pour it to show you the consistency of what I got. And it's come out in this beautiful kind of latte colour, so that's really nice. And it tastes good. So I've never actually put an apple. I've always just eaten my apples, but I always put a banana, and I actually, celery, that's what I put in there. That was the ingredient I forgot about. I actually put a stick of celery in there. So there you go. Celery, apple, hemp seeds, cinnamon, pecans, Arbonne protein powder, and can I tell you, yeah, tastes nice. It's got a creaminess about it, but a bit of a freshness about it too. I don't know, maybe it's the apple and the celery. So it's good to try different things. So yeah, that's it. So basically, just to summarize this video, gut health, think diversity in ingredients. Think bone broth if you want to add that into your diet, and also think about your prebiotics, feeding your probiotics that are in there, and to increase those probiotics, have more of them, all right, in your diet through your fermented foods. There's so much information out there. But yeah, so that's my take on today, and experiment with your smoothies, try different things, see if you can throw that zucchini in there, go for your life, enjoy the rest of your weekend, yeah, and have fun. I'll see ya.